Okay, it looks like the first thing we have is a swearing in.
Good evening, everybody. So this is a special occasion. We don't get to do this too often. I wish we could do it more. But tonight we're going to be swearing in our newest promotion to the rank of lieutenant, who is Michael Besner. So at this point, if I can call him up, and I just want to say a few words. So to introduce, I'm going to call you Michael. To introduce Michael to everybody that's here, Michael was hired in 2010 with Cumru Township. Prior to his being hired here at Cumru Township as a police officer, he was in the Coast Guard, and he obtained the rank of petty officer and was stationed in Key West, law enforcement petty officer. So as you could probably infer with that title, what he was doing down in the Florida Keys was dynamic and exciting, and provided him with a great foundation for policing here in Cumru Township. In 2016, he was promoted to the rank of FTO, which is Field Training Officer. I'm sorry, did I say 2016? Yes, yes. What's kind of exciting and important about the rank of Field Training Officer? One, it's the first time that an officer is going to be in charge of somebody else. So technically that's their first experience as a supervisor. What's also important about that rank and title is that it's selected by the peers of the department. So it's selected by all the sergeants and the command staff within the sitting department. And he was selected to have that responsibility. In 2020, he was promoted to the rank of sergeant. And just a couple other highlights on what he does. He is our physical fitness certified instructor. So he is in charge of all of our physical fitness, and he is able to put all of our cadets that we hire or that we're vetting through the physical fitness standard with MOPEC. Was also one of our evidence custodians, and he's the immediate past president of the Cumru Township Police Officers Association. So he wore many hats while he's been here in Cumru, and he has one more very important hat now that he's getting tonight, which is the rank and role of police lieutenant. So just to tell you a little bit about Mike, when I first met Michael, it was in 2010. He was attending the Reading Police Academy, and I was an instructor. And during the last quarter, up until the last quarter of the academy, you're in the classroom. So you're just doing classroom tests and hearing lectures, not very exciting, especially for a police officer. And Mike was no different than anyone else that was going through the academy, considering that I was an instructor, in that he just blended in. They don't really say too much, kind of fits his personality. So I didn't really notice him or know him in the beginning. The last quarter of the academy is when you get out and you get to do all the fun stuff. That's when you learn all the operational tactics, how to be a police officer, essentially. So you're learning how to conduct traffic stops, interact with individuals, which is probably the most important thing, on how to speak and talk and interview and relate to individuals. And the last 2 weeks of the police academy is what they call patrol operations, is where you put everything together, and you have 1 week where you're working days and 1 week where you're working nights. And that's held at a location just outside the city. And we referred to that as the shoot house. So it was a training facility where we could do traffic stops, but we could also do building searches. And we could utilize all the equipment that helps us and assists us in training which I'm referring to are simunition handguns, which shoot little wads of soap, essentially. It's great training. It's real life. And anybody that's ever been through that, your heart rate goes from 0 to 1,000, which is as real life as you can possibly get. So the instructors during these 2-week blocks are role players, if you will. So there's a few instructors that oversee everything, and then the rest of the instructors are role players. So we're the bad guys, essentially. We're the officers, or we're the individuals that are driving the cars that they're stopping, the cadets are stopping, and we're in the buildings and role-playing domestic related incidents or burglaries, and they're trying to resolve whatever role we're playing. I vividly recall one night, it was around 7 or 8 p.m. at night, and I was a role player, and I was in the house. And the cadets were in charge of searching the house and finding the role players, the bad guys. Do you remember this? He probably doesn't remember this. I can remember it like it was yesterday. I was in the second floor of the shoot house. I was hiding in one of the bedroom closets. I remember this young, tall, strapping young cadet enter into the room. Meanwhile, I'm shaking because I'm nervous because this is real. You know, you don't want him to find you, because if he finds me, he's going to grab me and throw me on the ground, and I didn't want to be thrown on the ground. So I'm very quiet, and they're in their Darth Vader masks. I mean, it's everything. They're fogging up. They can't see right. They're coming through, and I see him pop in, and he turns and he starts to walk out. And I thought, this is my moment. So I quietly lean out, and I take my opportunity, and I shoot him somewhere in the body. I don't know where. I might have even squeezed off a couple just to prove my point. And that's when the role playing stops. And essentially, we were told, let them win. Give them a chance to win. You got to give them the opportunity to win. I'm not sure if I did that because I was just so excited that this Cumru Township new hire, this tall stud muffin of a guy is coming in. And here I am, a middle-aged instructor, losing hair, and I thought, I'm gonna do it. He's gonna remember me for the rest of his life. And I pop him a couple of times. Now, I don't think he remembers this, and I don't think if he did, he remembers it quite the way I do. But I promise you, my way is the absolute way it happened. No other way. And ironically, in 2016, I get hired with Cumru Township. And I can't take credit for hiring him, but I can take credit for at least being here when he was selected by the sergeants to be an FTO, and promoting him to sergeant, and now promoting him to lieutenant. And as you can see from Lieutenant Besner right now, this is his average. This is his baseline right here. If he gets excited, this is also his excitement. If he gets sad, that's his sad too. And I've always joked around that I was never quite sure if Michael liked me. And I just chalk it up to that night at the patrol shoot house that I lit him up, and he still remembers that, even though he claims he doesn't remember that. So, but I will say that yeah, again, it's a great honor to be able to be here to promote Mike to lieutenant. I saw in Michael that I refer to it as when he was a sergeant, right before he was promoted, he turned that corner and you could just see everything was clicking for him. And he started to think more about everyone else in the department and the organization and the township before himself. And there's nobody better suited for this job at this point in time. And I will say, and I'll be upset if I don't point out too, I think that he was almost somewhat born for this because his father, who's seated here today, is also a retired police chief. And I pointed that out in 2020 for his promotion to sergeant, and I believe they wrote an article about that. It was a great article. So hopefully they can write an article again about this exciting night. But just wanted to be the first to congratulate you. There's members of the force here that came to honor him, and that just says a lot. And looking forward to the swearing in and having his family come up and be able to, his wife be able to pin that badge on him. And I thank the commissioners for allowing me to have this opportunity to do this. So thank you. Congratulations.
You solemnly swear or affirm that you will support, obey, and defend the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the Commonwealth, and that you will discharge the duties of police lieutenant in Cumru Township, Berks County, with fidelity. You can swear or affirm.
If it's okay with the board, can I be excused to go out and take some pictures? Thank you.
So will we do Daisy now?
So I'd like to introduce probably the most well-liked unknown officer in the department. I'm not talking about you, Jamie. I'm talking about our newly hired therapy dog named Daisy. So if Daisy could come out in front, she might be a little shy and bashful. She's in training right now. So this is Daisy. So Daisy represents 50% of our therapy canine unit. Like I said, she's in training. She's been doing incredibly well from what Sergeant Griffith has told me, that she's taking her roles and responsibilities very seriously. She's doing a great job. And I know one of the reasons that that's occurring is because Sergeant Griffith, who absolutely, from what he's telling me, if you don't believe in love at first sight, he will convince you otherwise, because he's fell in love with her and he works with her all the time. So I don't know if she enjoys it, but she does a lot of work off duty in her training to try and get her up to speed as quickly as possible. She has been introduced to some people sporadically. Right now, we're powering through some female puppy issues until she can get fixed, if you will. So she's had the last 2 weeks of vacation, essentially. But what she does is, if you're not familiar with what the intent of our therapy canine unit was or is she's going to be deployed to any situation where we feel that this dog would benefit an individual or a party that's involved in an incident. So this could be anywhere from a domestic situation to a traffic accident, which, as anybody who's ever been involved in a traffic accident knows, even if it's a minor accident, it can be very traumatizing, especially for our younger citizens and visitors and guests. She also does go to schools. She spends a lot of time in schools. We also plan, one of the reasons we added on to our therapy canine unit is to expand our reach and our footprint and start to enter into the assisted living facilities that are in the township. She's going to be a great segue into, if you enjoy dogs, you like dogs, here's our therapy dog. And oh, by the way, there's people out there that are trying to take your money through phone calls and frauds and various things. So we'll be able to educate the public as well as relate, but she'll be that good segue into that. So we're very excited. She is available for other departments if they're involved in a traumatic incident. We do have cooperating agreements, if you will, with every other police department in Berks County. And if an incident occurs that's traumatic for an officer or anyone, we will send her out upon request. I'm extremely thankful for the board recognizing and backing this initiative. I think that this is the future, if you will, of policing. There's a lot of individuals who struggle within this township, specifically that I'm speaking about, with mental health, and especially our veterans. And we have individuals that we consider repeat clients in that they have consistent crises or episodes. And we've had experience with our other therapy canine, and I'm sure we're going to have it with Daisy as well, that we've had individuals beginning to feel like they're entering into a crisis situation and have proactively reached out to our officers, our handlers, and said, hey, can you bring Ollie out here? I think I'm going to be in crisis soon. And Ollie has gone out there, and it's very difficult to quantify to say we prevented that. But what I can say is, at any time someone reaches out to police and wants us to be with them, that's a win. And that's an incredible win. And although we can't quantify specifically the results that we're seeing, even if it's just one individual, it's worth it, in my opinion. So I appreciate the commissioners really backing, again, this initiative. We're always looking for community partners and support for Officer Ollie and Officer Daisy. And we're more than happy if anyone would decide they want to call in and set something up. We can absolutely refer you to Sergeant Griffith, who oversees the unit and can organize something, or let you know what we can do. So the main focus was to introduce Officer Daisy, though. So thank you for allowing me to do that. And I will point out that we are the only police department in Berks County to have a therapy canine unit. And I really, again, I believe that this is going to be the future because we need to be proactive in, it's very easy to say community policing, but what you have to do is actually do it. And I think this is the best, one of the best ways to do it because there's not too many people that don't really enjoy dogs.
Anybody want to? You guys hear all that stuff. Right? Everybody else all right? Think it all up? You want to see the call? Anybody who doesn't? Yeah. That was son, that's the daughter. All right.
Thank you. Okay, Jean, do you know if there's anything for the ambulance service?
I'm not aware of anything in particular. I don't think we have a representative from Tower here this evening. If the board has any questions on the report, please let me know and I will forward those questions.
Okay, thank you. And did everyone get a chance to look over the minutes? And if so, do I hear a motion to approve the minutes?
So moved.
I'll second
Mr. Bill Miller,
it. Yes.
Mr. Greg Miller,
Yes.
Mr. Donnell.
Yes.
Ms. Rao.
Yes.
Thank you.
Tax collector report.
There's nothing particularly outstanding about the report this month. As we're getting to the end of the year, collections slow down. If you have any questions for the tax collector, please let me know.
Thank you. Hey, it looks like we have just one person signed up for public comment, Bruce Bagley. Would you please step up to the microphone and state your name and your address, please?
Bruce Badgley, 105 Elkins Avenue. Basically, it was a couple of weeks ago while actually Greg was out campaigning that we had an opportunity to speak, and we talked a little politics, and then all of a sudden I said, "Hey, I've got a little problem here," and not just myself, but I think that there's several people and a heck of a lot of students that attend Governor Mifflin schools that got a potential safety issue, and that is in the block of Elkins Avenue between High Boulevard and Grill Avenue. You've got a situation where parking is allowed on both sides of the street. And nowhere along Elkins Avenue between the schools at one end and Lancaster Avenue at the other end is there allowed, parking on both sides of the street. That block, if you drive on it during a weekday, it's like driving a slalom run in your car because you cannot get from one end of that block to the other without going back and forth. And there's buses, there's a lot of students, there's a terrible intersection at the High Boulevard and Elkins Avenue. It's very wide. The entire traffic of Governor Mifflin students walk through there every single day. And the speeds are well over 25 miles an hour while all this is going on. I personally have to park my cars, and I pointed my cars to Greg, over on High Boulevard. I can't park cars in front of my own house because I was tired of allocating $1,000 a year per vehicle to replace the mirrors on my car. So I'm parking 3 blocks away, and that's just an example of my own item. I'm just concerned about the safety issues. Okay. I got a grandson who, latchkeys at the house there, and all these students going by. These cars are going too fast, and there's not enough room for the traffic between High Boulevard and Grill. I mean, it's just like I said, an accident waiting to happen. The growth of the vehicles as well. I know this, the street's been there for a while. And the traffic in that area now, not only on Elkins Avenue, but I'm not familiar with the street that winds around back up to, around the baseball stadium and everything like that. But the traffic in the morning is just terrible. And all I would say is that something needs to be done as far as a study on, on that particular element. I know there might be some very angry people if, the judgment is made that you can only park on, one side of the street, but in nowhere along that whole stretch, other than in that block between High Boulevard and Grill, is there parking allowed on both sides of the street. So I think it's an enormous safety issue with a lot of students involved. You've got buses, and I just think it's an accident waiting to happen.
Just
All right.
confirm my understanding, Mr. Badgley. Elkins is the road that terminates at the entrance of the intermediate school.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct. Yep. And it starts at Lancaster Avenue.
And the ask, as I hear it, is essentially study, see if there's something just in general that we can do.
Yeah. Or, take the tough step and just, making it that you can only park on one side of the street, on Upland Avenue, whichever, side, that might be. I'm willing to go along with that. Let's just say I'm not going to park in front of somebody's house across the street unless, I have to, or, I don't want to make them angry. And people in their parking places can get a little bit personal.
Yeah, and just to piggyback on Bruce's point, like literally when I was standing there with him, I saw what he was explaining there, where there was a decent sized truck coming down, and then there was another vehicle trying to get up, and the other vehicle just kind of waited behind the other car until the truck came through because there wasn't space for both of them. So I've also sat through that traffic in the morning. I don't know if Andy's ever dropped off it's LA down there, but it can really back up around pickup and drop off times around the school. That said, I don't know a whole lot what you can do about that, but maybe we could talk about that and see if there's something. But definitely maybe with the parking, I don't know. I'll pose that to Gene or whoever the right person is. Can we restrict parking to one side?
Certainly you can, if you want to. There will, as the gentleman alluded, there will be a firestorm. I'll give you an example. There's a very small street in the General Penguin area called Kalen Court. And at one time, a number of years ago, that used to have parking on both sides, and the township restricted it on one side, and the room was full of people, even on that short cul-de-sac. And the gentleman's comment about the width of the street, I'm not disagreeing with it, but it does occur in some other areas of the township as well. For example, in that same neighborhood that I'm referencing, Castleton Drive, it has parking on both sides of the street, and it's only a 26-foot wide street. So you can imagine that in that neighborhood, people have to take turns to get around. The difference on Elkins is the fact that there are two schools at the terminus of Elkins. And in the section from Lancaster Avenue to Harding Avenue, that is a private road between the two shopping centers, that area. But certainly that's, of course, generates a lot of traffic as well, using Elkins to get through to other areas. So yes, can you restrict parking? Yes, you can do that. Yes, there will be backlash for whomever lives on the side of the street that's a loser.
Yeah, and that's the difficult part is on the one end of the street, the parking on one side is opposite of at the end of the street that terminates in the school. So you can't just say, well, everybody on this side, we're just going to make it on that side of the street. I don't see how you could just, do that. It would have to be just, that one element between, High Boulevard and Grill there. And two, the intersection there at High Boulevard and Elkins Avenue, it's a huge wide intersection there. But, everybody just increases their speed from the time that they start at the school until the time that they hit the Lancaster Avenue. They've got their foot on the gas pedal and it's posted 25. I mean, Greg was there and, it was clearly, above 25 miles an hour that a lot of the traffic was, going at. But I think the speed bump could be put a stop sign. It's an enormous intersection there, and it would be, having the ability to put a stop sign just at that intersection. I think that gives you the speed bump to slow everybody down, and the safety issue related to the, all the buses and the kids or whatever like that. I mean, it's a really high traffic area that with a lot of I think very sensitive, traffic as far as kids go.
I actually have two questions. One more
Sure.
for you, if you don't mind. I'm curious if you find it is the issue as you see it more pressing at particularly where there are intersections. And the reason I ask is I wonder is maybe we could sort of find a middle way and just reduce the distance to which, or increase the distance to which people are not allowed to park. Like typically I don't know the exact number of feet you can't park from an intersection, but if we set parking back, do you feel like that would make a difference?
I don't know. Some of the people actually park even in the it's kind of yeah, right, the turn, right. You know what I'm talking about. They park on the turn there, even though they're not allowed to. And here's the other thing too. I mean, community days now, there's for community days, there's no parking on either side of the street because of the traffic that goes on for that. I mean, from when it becomes the street as well, there's no parking. So that's an example of, there's obviously a situation where it's pretty tight through there. And
perhaps Chief or whomever might know the answer to this. Is this something where perhaps we could set certain hours where parking was not permitted, like you can't park on the street between the hours of 8 a.m. and 10 a.m. and then 4 p.m. and 6 p.m., something like that. Trying to think, I'm throwing things at the wall and seeing what's.
Yeah, and the other thing too is that I think that we have restrictions in like some people, will expand their driveway. I don't believe that we can expand our driveways to allow even, two cars to, or two cars to park in there, as well. So
You can amend the traffic ordinance to create no parking zones for different time periods and things, and that's what gives the chief and his department the ability to enforce the parking issue.
Okay, I mean that to me, like I realize that there are many layers that you described, but to me that in particular, like school age children running around and things is particularly concerning with how fast people drive there.
Yeah.
Perhaps that could be at least a partial solution.
yeah, I think it's a kind of a composite issue, between the parking and also, like I said, even when the related to the parking conditions there, it's still that one block. Like I said, the descriptor that I have is you're going through a slalom run in your car through there. Okay, and these are buses and big cars now, and it's not restrictive to. We did it on a Sunday afternoon. Rex was there on a Sunday afternoon, so it's not restrictive. I don't believe by. A time of day. Yeah, is it really high traffic during school hours? It is, but the school hours go from all the extracurricular activities that go on at night at the intermediate school. They have baseball games and everything else. So yeah, there's a lot of traffic, much more traffic than I can obviously ever remember.
Could we bring this? I realize we have a full agenda. Could we bring this as an agenda item for our next meeting so we can continue the conversation? This is particularly something, sounds like an issue, given safety concerns with the school and such. Just one quick question. You alluded to a speed bump. I'm wondering if not a figurative speed bump in a stop sign, can we actually put a speed bump on the road? No, okay.
Snow plowing.
All right. Thanks, Greg.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming, Bruce.
Okay, and there is another party that wanted to speak. I don't think you didn't sign it. Yeah, so I'm sorry, I don't know how to address you, but if you'd like to go up to the microphone, state your name and your address, please.
My name is Shanika Young and I reside at 3125 Welsh Road. I'm here tonight to make a formal objection to a poultry house at 2939 Welsh Road. No residents on Welsh Road were hereby notified or received any notice for this project. In my opinion, or I guess as a resident, it kind of violates the intent of the procedural fairness required under Pennsylvania Municipal Planning Code, including sections 603, 608, and 909.1. This is not a backyard chicken coop. The scale, the footprint, and the land distance, and it's intended to clearly use as a commercial poultry facility, and I'm not sure if you're aware of that. Construction and land clearly occurred before approval, and this is a zoning violation. Approvals issued after such violations and without proper notice and procedural deficiencies, and many reopened and revised under municipality or MPC 909.1. There's also a documented pattern of misrepresentation by this property owner. Filing a false kennel in Brecknock Township while residing in Cumru Township is one. Constructing unpermitted buildings. destructing my family's personal property, and off-season hunting and openly bragging about it. A commercial property, a poultry operation carries serious risk as far as air quality, odor, well contamination runoff, and manure management issues. And under the Clean Streams Law, these risks require full review, and none was provided. I respectfully request the township to halt or suspend the approval and reopen this matter under MPC 909.1 and conduct a full lawful review and proper public notice. There have been buildings put up on this property on the wetlands, and we have gone to the DEP and the Berks Water Conservation. And a lot of us have been getting different, I guess, answers and opinions, and it's either it was pushed through, but then it wasn't, and then it was halted, but it's not. They're still doing it. There are more neighbors in our neighborhood that are putting up buildings without proper permits or permission. So I'm just asking that somebody really take this serious and look into it. Thank you.
I can comment on that if the board would like. So with respect to the zoning issue, the property is situated in the agricultural district of the township, which the chicken coop and the chicken facility is a permitted use by right in that district. So there would have been no need for the owner of that property to receive any sort of zoning relief for the plans that he presented to the planning commission. If he decided at some point in the future that he was going to build another building and have more livestock, more animals in that building, then the intensity of the use would require him to go before the zoning hearing board. And if that happened, then yes, under the MPC, all of the neighboring properties would receive notice of that. But because the use is permitted by right, he didn't require relief from the zoning hearing board for that specific use. Okay. To my knowledge, he has been complying with applying for all of the necessary permits that he needs for construction, as well as stormwater management planning, which I believe is going to be inspected at some point in the near future once those plans are finalized. So as far as the township is concerned, he has been complying with all of the required permitting issues that he needs. Unfortunately, it is a permitted use by right. So there was no notice that was necessary for the use to be implemented on that property. I know you mentioned that you didn't get, no, I mean, the owner did come to several planning commission meetings, I believe 2 or 3. And then he had to come to a board of commissioners meeting to present his plan to the board here. So there was notice of him being present on those agendas, which were posted pursuant to the MPC. The trespass issue, I think you mentioned that there was issues with him coming onto your property. That's not something that the township really has involvement in. That's a private.
It's a civil, I understand.
It's a neighbor issue, right?
Yeah.
So, if you put no trespass signs up on your property boundaries and he doesn't obey those, you could ask for the police to enforce that. But it's not something that this board would have any control over. And I think you also mentioned the dog kennel issue. We understand that there is a neighboring property. It's not the same property where there was zoning relief requested and given to a property owner in Robeson Township. Sorry, Brecknock Township. Brecknock Township, while they may have said okay to that zoning relief, that owner didn't come to Cumru Township and make any requests. So we have been in communication with that property owner regarding that issue. So the township is looking into that. But unfortunately, it's a completely separate issue because it's a separate property.
Right. My thing is, as far as being agriculture, he is zoned for agricultural, and he is allowed to have a chicken coop, but he's building industrial commercial chicken houses. Now, I don't know if anybody has come out to see or how you inspect things, but what he's building is not your regular chicken house or chicken, it's industrial commercial. The tractor trailers are getting stuck coming up the road, going into the driveway. So I'm not sure if what he's telling you is what is on the paper, but that's not what he's doing.
Okay. There,
Here, just wanted to ask Kelsey, is there limitations on scale or scope within?
exactly where I was going. Yes, our zoning ordinance does have limitations on the intensity of the agricultural operation. And the zoning ordinance is here. I'm not going to go through it right now with you, but there is a limit to, I believe it's the number of animals per square foot that he's permitted to have on the property.
Mhm.
Chicken considered an animal. So based on what his plans were that he presented, he was under the limit where he would need a special exception from the zoning hearing board. If he gets over that limit, at some point, he will need to go before the zoning hearing board to get approval. But
Now-
his intensity falls below what the zoning ordinance requires.
And you're sure that that's what I'm not questioning the zoning board or anything like that, but as far as what he says and what he does is two different things. So if he puts 10 cows, for 5 acres where he's only supposed to have 1, then what happens?
If we get notice that he's not in compliance with the zoning ordinance, the township will send him a notice of violation if they go out and confirm that he is violating the zoning ordinance. And then we'll continue with enforcement procedure from there. But the board and the township can really only go by what someone agrees and tells us they're going to fall within. So if you notice something that doesn't seem like it falls within the limits of the zoning ordinance, please feel free to let the township know and we'll do our due diligence to investigate that.
And what happens when it's already up?
Well, the building itself isn't the issue. It's the number of animals.
Animals, okay,
Correct. And I know that's a difficult thing for someone to see. I understand that.
okay, thank you.
So what form of notice does she need to give? I mean, it sounds like she's kind of giving us notice is what I'm hearing.
Well, I think Jean can comment on where they are in the procedure of doing all the inspections for the building permits and for stormwater and how often you've been on the property.
We're only at the beginning of the process. He presented plans and received the waiver of land development. And he applied for his building permit and use permit. And right now, everything is in line with what he presented. To our knowledge, he is not doing anything yet that is indicated by his applications and his plans. We can't predict the future, but his stormwater will be inspected. Obviously, the building inspector inspects the actual building itself. Now his nutrient management plan, that's the animal waste, is overseen by Berks Conservation District. And his erosion control plan is overseen by Berks Conservation District.
And those are conditions of him being able to get the building permit and use the occupancy permit.
Technically, anybody who has any animal, even Officer Daisy that we saw earlier, has to manage the nutrients that animal generates. When you have an agricultural facility, that comes under Berks Conservation District, and they actually have to have a plan that is filed with the Conservation District about how they're dealing with manure, et cetera.
He already has steer there. Okay, that's not being managed right now by anything.
And he will talk to the planning commission and present to the planning commission that he already had some steer there. That was taken into account.
Behind our house. Right behind the house of my neighbor and ours. There's gunshots bullet casings in the woods that we found in the trail, the road that he built to go to his father's house, arrows, and he brags about, to relatives, and I'm not a relative, but I've been told from his relative that he brags about how many deer he get. Now we've been missing 2 moms and babies all summer, sets of deer that are missing, gone, and you can hear him shooting, and it's not supposed to be shooting in the summertime, and he is.
Yeah, I'm not sure if that's a game commission issue.
Yeah, I know, I understand that, but I'm
Absolutely.
just saying he asked that.
I
so-
understood.
But yeah, the game
That would be who
commission
you
is
would call
aware.
If you see that going on.
The
We'll have
game
evidence
commi-
of it.
Yeah, unfortunately, that's an issue all over. The township has even had to cut down tree stands on township property. And so, yeah, it's a very common problem, unfortunately.
So I just wanted to follow, sort of, maybe in my mind, put a bow on this. In terms of the township's purview, it is zoning and planning that we can intervene or could hypothetically intervene if something were going on. But I mean, those other things sound like they would be just quite disturbing, but maybe just not our purview, correct?
A lot of what Miss Young commented on is not within our purview. Like I said, the trespass, the hunting issue, the nutrient management plan, like Jean discussed. What the township can enforce is making sure that he's getting all of the necessary permits from the township that he needs. He's managing his stormwater appropriately, and that he is not violating the zoning ordinance by having a more intense use than he had indicated he was going to. I believe, if I remember correctly, he did indicate that in the future, he was planning on potentially building a second chicken house. And we informed him at that time that if that was the case, he would need to go before the zoning hearing board. But that would not be a permitted use by right. He would need to go get a special exception for that use. Because it's expanding the intensity of the use. As far as odor control, I mean, there's not much we can do. That would fall into the more intense use under special exception. That issue would be addressed there. It is an indoor facility, I believe.
Yes, but also then in regard to odor control and those kind of things, you start getting into the right to farm law.
What about the air quality control as far as where we're at in the wind and?
Again, that is something that gets, there's actually, and I'll play solicitor, pretend solicitor for a moment. There's a lot of case law on that type of thing.
I
in
haven't run
relation
into
to
that
farms.
too much in my career, but yeah.
I just wonder, because I have MS, and anybody that has any kind of autoimmune deficiency or disease, it's kind of sets us in a loop and inflammation starts, but that's the case. But I did want to let you know that he's putting both chicken houses up right now. And we had mentioned to William Frymore, and he had put a stopped order in as far as what's going on. In the meantime, I'm not sure.
Well, Willie's here and I think he heard everything you said. So we'll keep an eye on it and make sure that he's not doing anything that he shouldn't be pursuant to what he's permitted to do under the township zoning ordinance as it stands right now.
Thank you.
It's going to be in the zoning ordinance, which is published on the township's website. And it is in most likely the agricultural district conditions section.
Yes, it's page 152. You can also get a copy from us of the township engineer's review letter he requested a waiver of land development. The township engineer reviewed that, and some of that is discussed there. Also in the minutes of the planning commission. It's also discussed there. So you can certainly request those copies of those.
Yeah, it'll tell you how many animals per square foot or acre. I forget what it is, but it
it's
also
per acre. It's a kind of a difficult read. It follows the Department of Ag. It talks about animal units per acre. So there's a bit of interpretation that goes into it. It's not a straight up, you can have this many chickens on your property. When you see it, you'll know what I'm talking about. There's a bit of interpretation. That's why I think the planning commission minutes and the township engineer's review will be helpful. No, those aren't, but you can contact Patty or myself. I do have Ms. Young's email. She had emailed me. You can feel free to email Patty or I, or just call into the office and you can request copies of those. Mm-hmm.
Ah,
So I just wanted to make,
Mm-hmm.
and we just want to make sure he's doing what he's allowed to do.
Yeah.
He not to arbitrarily behind everybody's back. Building years and I am worried that's screwed. And I think keep it on maybe he takes his skin around and starts digging around his woods. This man and this younger, yeah, I don't get why he's out there digging with his road. I know what he's doing, he's digging beer, well, he takes his wood out to hurt. And he actually built a road out to his beer stand. And we just struggled out to the something. This beer stand on our property. It was an all I didn't know, yes, we do. Because you have the map, you do. And then he went to the beer stand over by the soccer field. I mean, literally, there's kids that are playing. And no piece of bad, I was like, oh. But she could attest, her husband was out in his building working. And I had a kid making signs. I heard this shot in his house. And I know he shoots a butt down there, but when I'm in the house, I mean, literally, there could be a storm tonight. I don't even feel what's going on in the house. I heard that shot inside the house. I walked outside. And man, there's another shot right out. It's like, oh my God. And literally, he had to be within a couple feet of my kid, and her husband, he got there, they said, she's come out of the house, those two guys come out, and hell's going on? And, yeah, so they walked behind my farm, I mean, they had I like to say,
For the individuals that spoke, just for the minutes, Patty, did you get everyone's name and address? I'll start with the woman in the back. Do you mind just giving your name and address so that we can take it down for the minutes? Ms. Gies, I don't know if you gave your name and address to. Thank you. Appreciate that.
I just have one more question. Is there a certain amount of chickens that he can have in this chicken house? I know you said about the number of animals, but a chicken is one.
Yeah, so I think if you take a look at the zoning ordinance provisions, the minutes from the planning commission, as well as the minutes from the Board of Commissioners meeting, when the owner came and discussed what he was planning on doing, and we reviewed the zoning ordinance, as well as the engineer's review letter, I think you'll have a better understanding of what the language is in the ordinance and how it makes and how it dictates what intensity you can have on the
Okay.
property.
And the right to know, do we hand that into Cumru Township, or is that done on, I mean, I know I got the paper online, but I didn't.
Yeah, if you
return
can submit a formal right to know request, or you can ask Jean or Patty via email. I think their email addresses are on the township's website. They can just get those documents to you. We know that they're subject to right to know.
Thank you.
the number, oh yeah, I'm sorry, that they were shown, 2,812. Are the numbers of animals or the number of units, but how is that monitored? Or is it just not, it's a basic person's word?
That's a tough question. We rely on what the owner and the applicant tells us. And if there are issues, the township notices issues, the zoning officer, who's Jean, notices issues, Willie, who's code enforcement, notices issues, or neighbors do, then the township can go investigate those issues, but we can't just kind of go around to people's properties and knock on doors just randomly and say, hey, we think you might be violating the ordinance or what you told us you were doing. It's just difficult. Enforcement is difficult. You would contact the township, the zoning officer, who's the manager at this point.
Okay. Moving on to the police department with Chief Winchester.
Thank you. I won't take too much of your time. I think I took. Excuse me. Just, thank you. I won't take up much of your time because I took a lot of it up already. You all should have my crime report or information report on your tablets. If there's any questions I can answer, I will. One of the things I just want to highlight briefly is just some of the work that the officers are doing outside of calls for service. One of the reports that Lieutenant Besner generates for me right now is an activity report when it comes to police activity outside of calls for service. And our officers are doing a great job with community engagement and training in various areas within the township. I just want to highlight just a couple. One of the things that they're doing is we're constantly down at the school district performing various services when it comes to reading books to kids, interacting with the kids. We also provide active shooter training to any organization or entity within the township that feels it would benefit them. We do a lot of presentations for churches in the area, in the township. We were just out at the Heritage today, where we put on 2 different sessions with a total of approximately 130 individuals that went through both sessions. We also conduct a number of details on a regular basis for aggressive driving, which is funded through the Highway Safety Network. So we're reimbursed for the time and the money that's spent on those details, but they pay dividends in slowing people down and individuals down. But there are parameters and there's certain areas that we have to stay within and times that we have to stay within as well. And then just finally, some of the things that we were able to do over Halloween, we did have the trunk or treat. We also do Halloween patrolling where officers go out and they'll actually buy candy and then they'll hand that out in the neighborhoods. The residents really look forward to that and they like that. And also the officers really enjoy that as well. So just a couple of, like I said, highlights that I wanted to point out that the officers do on top of all the calls for service. They were extremely busy handling the calls for service this last month. And most of you are aware of all the major incidents that occur through updates from myself. The other thing I would just like to quickly discuss is our animal control service for 2026. I've had a number of discussions and I've kept the board updated, the liaisons updated with what we are working towards. And what we ended up doing was identifying an organization that is able to provide animal control services for us for 2026. And the cost is the most reasonable cost that we were able to identify, with it being $1.50 per capita would be the cost. The organization also provides services in regards to catch and release of cats, which is something that we were told has been identified as an issue in the county. So they do offer that. They also offer a cooperative agreement with No Nonsense Neutering, which we can, as a township, if enter into agreement with them, also begin discussions with No Nonsense Neutering to see what events that they could provide to our township residents as well. I was not able to connect with that operator of No Nonsense, but I do have a call in, and we are going to touch base soon to kind of get more information about that. So what I'm looking for from the board is a motion to allow myself and Manager Johnson to continue and Solicitor Kelsey with hashing out the contract details and wording. We did come back with some suggestions based on Kelsey's review of the contract, and that they in turn sent that to their attorney. And I'm asking the board to authorize us to continue those talks and enter into an agreement contingent upon both parties agreeing to the wording of a contract.
Yeah, and just to back up the chief, he's done a lot of work on this. I know he sat down with a number of organizations. He's explored this very thoroughly. I think this is probably the best offer that we have here. So I'll make the motion that he's requesting.
I'll second.
Mr. Greg Miller,
Yes.
Mr. Donnell,
Yes.
Mr. Bill Miller,
Yes.
Ms. Rao.
Yes.
Thank you.
Hey, Chief Bean, Fire Department.
Good evening, Commissioners. You should have got my monthly report. It was a rather busy month again. And October is also fire prevention month, and the department had at least contact with probably around an estimated 4,000 students, teachers, different things through the different programs we do throughout the township in the month of October for fire prevention. So just sort of an update with the type of thing the department's doing and getting out there. That's our big month for fire prevention. We can do it anytime, but that's the token month that fire prevention is usually done is October. So if there's any comments or questions on the report, I'll try to answer them. If not, I'll keep moving, not to occupy too much more time. Looking for a motion for pay applications from HB Fraser, pay application 16 for $33,233.04, and Vision Mechanical, pay application 15 for $32,480.50 for a total of $65,713.54.
So moved.
I'll second.
Mr. Donnell,
Yes.
Mr. Bill Miller,
Yes.
Mr. Greg Miller,
Yes.
Ms. Rao.
Yes.
Thank you. That's all I have this evening.
Thank you. Jean, do you have anything for administration?
If anyone has any questions on the codes report, please let us know and we'll attempt to get them answered. As you know, winter months are on the slower side, which is pretty obvious from the report. We have two planning items that, if the board would like, the board can take them together, subject to the conditions that are outlined in your agenda for both of these plans. Both of them are reaffirmations of final approvals with conditions that you've done before. The first one is Hawthorne, and we're still awaiting the solicitor, and in this case, there's a special solicitor, Mr. Becker of Kozlov Stout, to review and get to a point of approval the treatment agreement for sewer with the city of Reading. We believe we have the improvements agreement amount, but we still need to receive an actual improvements agreement and escrow, and obviously pay all their fees. In regard to the Missionary Sisters of the Precious Blood, that's the convent on the northern part of Welsh Road. You can see there that there are some conditions to that approval. One of the big ones is 26-foot wide fire access driveway. And we still need to receive the DEP approval of their sewer planning modules, and they also need to post an escrow and have an improvements agreement. So we're looking for a reaffirmation of approval on both of those plans.
Yeah, I'm fine for doing both of them together. I make a motion for both of them together.
I'll second.
Mr. Bill Miller,
Yes.
Mr. Greg Miller,
Yes.
Mr. Donnell.
Yes.
Ms. Rao.
Yes.
Thank you. That's all we have for administration at the moment.
Okay, Mr. McNichols, Public Works.
Good evening. If you recall, several weeks ago, we had a emergency stormwater repair, needed an all-electric pike at Charles. That work was completed in one day on November 4th. It's quite a process. They were able to line 206 feet of 18-inch corrugated metal pipe for the cost of $51,625. The pipe was rotted out at the bottom, and it's one day compared to probably 2 months' work and tearing up all that blacktop. It was pretty amazing. Do we need a motion to pay that bill, Gene?
I would be more comfortable with having a motion.
So moved.
I'll second.
Mr. Greg Miller,
Yes.
Mr. Donnell,
Yes.
Mr. Bill Miller,
Yes.
Ms. Rao.
Yes.
Thank you. Next up is the mowing and trimming contract with the Sotosani Landscaping. We let that bid in 2023. It's a 3-year contract with an option to extend into 2026 and a second option to extend into 2027. What we're asking tonight is for approval to extend at the same price of $32,060 per year. That's 28 cuts into 2026. I believe the solicitors reviewed the contract. She wants to make a comment.
I have, yeah, and I think all we need to do is approve the motion to exercise that option and then let the contractor know.
And my understanding is we can only approve 2026 and we'll have the same discussion in 2027.
Correct.
Before 2020. So if the board so chooses, we would like a motion to extend that 4th year of the contract with Sotosani.
And that locks us into the same price.
Yes, sir.
et cetera. I move to exercise the option.
I'll second.
Mr. Donnell,
Yes.
Mr. Bill Miller,
Yes.
Mr. Greg Miller,
Yes.
Ms. Rao.
Yes.
Leaf collection continues. We had 5 crews out yesterday. We pick them up as fast as we can. It's usually the heaviest time of year right now, and we think we're keeping up pretty well. So we'll keep on that, and that's all I have for this evening.
Thank you. The engineer report with Joe Roguski.
Yes, recently, back in October, the township received a letter or a complaint in reference to a mid-block or a crosswalk over 724, which was previously a railroad siding or a grade crossing, and it's been converted to a trailway that's under the operation of the Schuylkill River Trail Association. I believe the complaint was in reference to the safety pertaining to this, what we consider a mid-block crosswalk. My recommendation, since this isn't a PennDOT roadway and the applicant was most likely the Schuylkill River Trailway, that any modifications to that mid-block crosswalk would need PennDOT approval, since not only it's in their right-of-way, however, all mid-block crosswalks are under now their jurisdiction. So whether or not a mid-block crosswalk is on a township road and there's federally funds or state funds allocated for that road, PennDOT has jurisdiction to which they would review any type of mid-block crosswalk. I think the same situation would apply here. My understanding is PennDOT will require what they call a shared use path right-of-way agreement, which I'm assuming between the Schuylkill River Trailways and PennDOT, there is an agreement that's been executed. So my recommendation to the township in response to this complaint would be to forward any concerns to the Schuylkill River Trailway and then have PennDOT evaluate any modifications. If it's safety enhancements such as flashing warning devices, they still fall under the jurisdiction of PennDOT, or additional signage to enhance safety. My recommendation would be for that person to forward their concerns to both PennDOT and the Schuylkill River Trailway.
We need a motion for that, or can we just have those concerns forwarded?
We'll just forward it. I want to let the board know, the township internally, we have no records about this crossing. 0, which is another indication to me that the permit holder is Schuylkill River Greenways, and any records associated are with them. One of the dangers and we found this out on Ridgeway Road, I'm sure Joe will remember this, is that, so I'll use Ridgeway Road as the example. It is one of the oldest roads in the township. It's probably a 300-year-old road, like Goglersville Road. They appear in the oldest records that we have. When the township wanted to do an overlay, a paving overlay on Ridgeway Road a number of years ago, PennDOT all of a sudden said, hey, you need a permit for that road onto 724. A 300-year-old road needed a permit. And this is not the first time that has happened. Where I'm going with this is, it wouldn't surprise me that some kind of inquiry about the existing crossing, PennDOT says, hey, nobody ever had a permit for that. And it could blow up into a very big project for the Schuylkill River Greenways. I can't help with any records or anything about that, how that came about. And it's also, if anybody knows that area, that crosswalk is not 90 degrees to 724. It's cattywampus. So that tells me about how old that crossing is, and probably a lack of records associated with it.
It's
So
probably a railroad crossing that
Yeah.
predates the state highway. So the railroad might require a permit from PennDOT to cross 724.
So it's complicated down there, believe it or not. So we'll forward this information to whomever we have as a contact for Schuylkill River Greenways. I know sometimes those contacts are very fluid because it's a nonprofit volunteer type organization. But yeah, I think this is a really difficult one. There's no easy magic fix.
I would assume this fell under the rails to trails period, where a lot of that railroad was removed and then converted into trails. And so I agree with Gene. I think once PennDOT has an opportunity to re-review, and I'm going through this with some other municipalities, they will require permits not only for existing driveways, if there is no evidence that permit ever has been acquired, as well as streets. That's not uncommon. If a public street, if a township or a municipality has a street that intersects a PennDOT street, if there's no HOP or a highway occupancy permit on record, that'll be the opportunity that they'll require that permit. That's all I have, unless anybody has any questions.
Oh, go ahead, Gillen.
I'm exacerbated by the fact that there's a lot of road on the side of the road, and the sight lines are real bad.
It's actually, in my opinion, it's not very conducive for a mid-block crosswalk, especially on a state road that probably has speeds that are greater than 45 miles per hour. Actually, the PennDOT has changed some of their regulations just recently, this March of this year. They're incorporating more trail crossings similar to this type and putting regulations in place. But a typical mid-block is not recommended for 35 mile per hour or greater speeds unless you're in a divided highway where you have what they call a refuge area, where a pedestrian can cross the street and then have an area where they can stay safe and then recross when you have traffic volumes that are greater than 10,000 vehicles a day. And I know Bob provided me some data that the township has on record from PennDOT. That road has more than 10,000 vehicles a day. So those two elements aren't greatest safety issues. I mean, greatest safety factors for a crossing when you have a lot of cars and vehicles who time to react to stop to somebody who's in that crosswalk is very limited, in my opinion. We were just talking about they put a bridge over 724. I agree. I think that's the way to do things. I think unless it's a minor road, it really should have some type of safety.
I think that bridge was built by the Greenways in conjunction with PennDOT. I don't think that had anything to do with the local municipality.
I was gonna ask,
I agree, since that crosses state road.
that I was gonna ask would building such a structure be the responsibility of the township or the Schuylkill Greenways or PennDOT or collectively sort of?
I think that was I remember reading an article about it a few months ago. I think it was the Greenways with grants and the state. But and I'm just guessing, it's gonna be a couple $1 million bridge.
Yes, there is grants and funding, pedestrian intermodal transportation type grants that the Greenway can apply for through PennDOT, but Bob's correct, that probably bridge can be a couple $1 million. And just the right of way acquisition, the design, I mean, it could be a substantial cost. It'd be a good safety measure, but it would have to be probably a cost that would be bared on the Schuylkill River Trailway.
Okay, thank you. Next, Kelsey.
Just an update on the Sunset apartment building. At the last meeting, we kind of formulated an action plan as to what the board wanted to do, what direction you wanted to go in. I have had email exchanges with Terry Noggle, who is our building inspector and engineer, as well as the attorney for Sunset. And I'm not going to get into the conversations I had with Terry because that's executive session material, but we did, the attorney from Sunset indicated to me in writing via email that he believes that the work on the inoperational elevator should only take a couple of months. That is in clear contradiction to what the timeline said that they provided to us. So I'm still trying to understand what's right and what's not. We did agree to set up a meeting between Sunset representatives, township representatives, county and state representatives. So there's a lot of people involved, which means the meeting is going to take a little bit to organize. So bear with us. My staff is trying to coordinate that the best that they can. And I think once we have that meeting, we'll have more information. I'm going to keep pushing on counsel for Sunset to keep me updated and get me information as he obtains it. But that is the update I have for you tonight. Item B is the zoning ordinance and data centers discussion. Commissioner Greg Miller had reached out to me, I believe it was last week, asking if we could look into potentially amending the zoning ordinance as it relates to data centers. Data centers are a trend. They're happening all over the place right now. Admittedly, I don't know much about data centers from a technical perspective. I know that they require a ton of electricity and a ton of water, and it's a drain on the municipalities and townships that they're in. But currently, data centers are not defined in our zoning ordinance, which means that in the general industrial district, they would be considered a special exception. So you'd have to go to the zoning hearing board and get a special exception to have a data center in that district. In any other district, because they're undefined, you would need a variance. The issue is we don't have a definition of data center, and we don't have any conditions related to what would be placed on a data center if they were to go in the GI district or any other district. So I have not dug into this very far yet, but I did pull a ton of ordinances from other municipalities across the state. I'm going to review those. I have asked Steve Hoffman, who is the planning commission engineer, to help me go through them and see what makes sense, what doesn't, and try to put something together, like a memo together for the board to look at to see what the board might be interested in trying to implement to amend the zoning ordinance.
Yeah, and just to piggyback on that, there were a couple things that I specifically would be interested in, and I just kind of want to bring them up here so everybody can kind of chew on it a little bit. One, to keep them in industrial zoned areas, because as Kelsey mentioned, I don't think it's very clear exactly where they can or can't be at this point. So let's just keep them in industrial areas. Two, as Kelsey mentioned, the water usage can be very heavy. And if you Google, AI data centers and water usage, you'll see lots of things pop up about how there's areas where their water tables are being offset and so on and so forth, and that there's lots of problems with that. There's two different ways to cool these AI data centers, one by water, one by fans. My suggestion will be to restrict the usage for cooling to fans and basically ban water as a cooling source. The other one that you'll find, once again, if you do lots of Googling, you'll talk about, you'll see how people are talking about electricity bills going up a lot because of all the demands for infrastructure that come along with the big power use here. My request here would be to have an independent power source be the primary source, similar to the one out in Harrisburg that Kelsey and I talked about a little bit.
Is that the one that has like a nuclear power source?
It's correct. So I guess thanks for bringing that up. It should be a power source that we would mutually review and agree with by that developer, just to make sure they're not putting something in as their power source that would also cause some agita. And then the final thing would be from Newcastle County down in Delaware. They talked about the decommissioning of these sites. These data centers have a shelf life. They're very expensive to decommission once they get to the end of their shelf life. I don't want to get stuck with that for the township. Candidly, I may not be around when that happens, but somebody will be around when that happens, and I wouldn't want the township to have to pay for that. So candidly, I don't know. Maybe Andy would know that. Do you know how long these things last?
It's hard to say. I mean, no, I would say the data center as a structure has an indefinite shelf life. Data centers are very expensive to maintain and run. And every rack of servers that you have has, let's say, 20 computers in it, and each of these computers has a chip in it that has a shelf life that expires in about a year or two. So they have to buy new chips, and there's a lot of industrial electronic waste that gets generated, and they're not disposing of all the electronics and things like that. I could imagine that being problematic, but I would say as long as somebody's paying the bill to keep this thing running, I wouldn't imagine, but I think people often probably run out of money to pay the bill. And
Yeah, I think decommissioning regulations are gonna be necessary, especially if if we're gonna condition it upon having their own independent power source. That's gonna have to be decommissioned at some point if they stop operating. So.
Correct. Yeah, I think the Newcastle was just looking for a plan and some sort of an agreement with the developer, if I remember correctly.
But to adequately supply power to that takes a tremendous amount. So what happens is the utility has responsibility to provide that. But we, the ratepayers, have to pay for the infrastructure that they build to support that facility. So in the end, we get it.
And I'll add, I think and I'm not, to be completely candid, I'm not for or against data centers, but I think there are very important things we need to balance when considering them. One thing, in addition to those power demands, is it also causes harmonic distortion in the electricity generated by the utility, which has an impact on all of our electronics, especially long running things like refrigerators and air conditioning systems. That distortion over time wears them down faster than their typical lifespan would be. And studies have shown that within, let's say, 20 miles of these large data centers, there's a lot of power distortion that occurs. So something to consider and something we should definitely be, if we're talking about that sort of development, we need to do it thoughtfully.
Yeah, and I'd echo Andy's point. I mean, it's not necessarily an anti or pro data center ordinance that we're talking about here. To Kelsey's point, we're kind of flying blind with these. So we're just kind of establishing the rules to the game, basically.
Yeah, we can look into having some conditions related to noise control mechanisms.
Andy, I kind of rattle, yes, definitely is the trade-off. I rattled a lot off there. You're the expert here. I mean, any, feelings?
No, I guess my feeling would be not to explicitly preclude liquid versus like air-based cooling. I would say we should put controls and sort of conditions in place. I wouldn't want to say we only can go with air cooling because it is a trade-off. So every circumstance would be unique, and in some it may be better. That trade-off may be better to, like, if they're building a data center right on a river where they have easy access to water, maybe that balances out. And maybe if they're very, very close to, or more close to residential property where the noise of lots of these fans running could be problematic, it might tilt scales. So I think we just need to, I think we just need to let Kelsey do some research and just make sure we have clear definitions and the ability to sort of weigh in.
Yeah, and I'm definitely gonna need some help with this one from an engineering perspective, from people with knowledge. So I'll do my best at a first shot at it.
Yeah, and the main reason I bring that up is just I don't know how to regulate the water like you're talking about. Like it sounds great, but how do you regulate the amount of water that they're using? And the last thing I'd want to get into a situation where in a drought situation and now that thing's sucking water like crazy and now all the folks in the community don't have water because it's sucking it all up. So yeah, as you said, we don't necessarily need to come up with answers tonight, but I would lean more towards the banning the liquid.
I'll do some reading too.
All right, thanks.
And that's all I have tonight, unless anyone else has anything for me.
I'm sorry, Kelsey, to round it out, do we need to do anything in terms of a motion, or are you just kind of crafting something and then we'll look
No.
at it at a later date?
Yeah, I'll craft something. There's gonna be a lot of procedural things that we need to do in order to amend the zoning ordinance. If you remember the last time we did, you have to send it to the Berks County Planning Commission, you have to advertise, you have to have a public hearing. So there's gonna be a lot of voting that takes place on this. So the first step is let's get something drafted and see if it's something the board, once it's drafted, actually wants to implement.
Okay, and from a timing perspective, how long do you need to draft something like this?
I'm not going to answer that question right now. I don't know. I just got all the ordinances pulled. I got to really dig into it and take a look at all of them and talk to Steve, and it probably will take some time.
Okay.
No, it will take some time. I just don't know how much time.
All right, so maybe let me rephrase. When should I bug you again about this?
I mean, I can give you an update, at every Board of Commissioners meeting if you want. I have no problem with that. Let you know where I'm at.
Okay.
I just wanted to quick circle back to item A. You've been doing a great job keeping us abreast of what's going on with the Sense Departments. Can you just continue, like, every meeting, just keeping us updated? To me, that's one of the most high priority things, particularly as it pertains to like safety for residents.
I certainly will. And I have my staff calendared for me to contact the attorney for Sunset every week and say, update. So yes, I will stay on top of it.
Okay, if you're through with that, we'll take a look at paying the bills for October 24th and the 31st and November 7th and 14th. Do I hear a motion to pay the bills?
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Bill Miller,
Yes.
Mr. Greg Miller,
Yes.
Mr. Donnell.
Yes.
Ms. Rao.
Yes. Next, going to commissioners, I believe Greg, you wanted to talk about the Delta development?
Yep, so there's two different LSA grants that Delta has reached out to us about applying for. Both of these come from their final economic development study that we'll talk about here publicly on the 13th of January. The first is to upgrade the website, the township website, both from a not just from a look standpoint, but also from a functionality standpoint. There was quite a lengthy description that they put together around this. I won't read it all off to you, but that's kind of the nuts and bolts of what we're asking for here. We got some estimates from a number of different companies, and the grant that they are looking to apply for, the amount I should say, is $35,872.
Do we just need nodding heads for this?
No, I need a motion, I need a resolution,
I-
because, I'm assuming that what we'll do is execute the resolution and then email it into Delta.
That's correct.
I would move to authorize application for the grant.
I'm sorry, Gene, I think they actually did send a resolution.
Oh, good, then I'm glad we're adopting it.
Yes. Let me just double check, but I think they have it. And I'll second Andy's motion.
Mr. Greg Miller,
Yes.
Mr. Donnell,
Yes.
Mr. Bill Miller.
What are we approving?
This is authorizing a resolution which will in turn authorize Delta Development to apply for an LSA grant in the amount of $35,872 for township website and website functionality upgrades.
So there's no cost for us, the township?
I
No.
do not know.
Not with an LSA grant.
Are there fees embedded in the grant? The administrative fees embedded in the grant for Delta?
In terms of like an application fee, you mean?
No, not the application fee. I know that they will bill us, that's $100 application fee we'll have to reimburse. No, I mean, any, Delta's work on that or whomever's, if this is going to another vendor, the 35,872, then they would be paid through the grant.
That's correct.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, the answer is whoever is going to do this work is getting paid through the grant.
Yes.
And Ms. Rao.
Yes.
Okay, and the second LSA grant is for $350,000 for master planning and engineering services on 222. So what this would be is documenting the current conditions out there, including land use, infrastructure needs, and challenges. They conduct a land use inventory, property conditions survey, and look to create a map of vacant and underutilized parcels. This consultant would also review the zoning, determine the size and capability of existing water and sewer lines, identify barriers related to access and parcel size and ownership. So basically, it's a big study on how to get 222 developed. And when I'm speaking of 222 here, it's the area from Palos down towards closer to like the Ollies and things like that down there. Same situation. It's an estimate has been obtained to come up with this amount, and it would be just simply paying the vendor, or in this case, the consultant, for their work here.
Right, and what we would presently be voting on is authorizing application for state grant money to pay that.
That's correct.
That vendor.
Yep.
Any questions? If not, I would move to authorize application for the grant.
And I'll second it.
Mr. Bill Miller,
Yes.
Mr. Greg Miller,
Yes.
Mr. Donnell.
Yes.
Ms. Rao.
Yes. And if there's nothing further on that, we will move into an executive session.
Just for the minutes, the board did have an executive session to discuss collective bargaining negotiations, a matter of litigation, well, 2 matters of litigation and 2 other collective bargaining issues. The only motions or the only actions that are coming out of executive session would be, I need a motion for authorization for the zoning officer to issue a written determination regarding a zoning issue for the Old Hickory Buildings land development plan.
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Bill Miller,
Yes.
Mr. Greg Miller,
Yes.
Mr. Donnell,
Yes.
Ms. Rao.
Yes.
And the second motion I would need would be a motion to authorize entry into the police memorandum of understanding that was discussed in executive session.
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Greg Miller,
Yes.
Mr. Donnell,
I believe I actually have to abstain from this one.
okay. Mr. Bill Miller,
Yes.
Ms. Rao.
Yes. Okay, reminders, Board of Commissioners meetings for November and December 2025. November 20th at 6:30 PM is the budget meeting, and December 16th at 7 PM is the regular meeting.
And upstairs,
For Monday, the 24th?
yes,
Okay, so also a budget meeting for Monday, the 24th at 6:30 PM. Planning Commission, December 1st at 6 PM. Do I hear a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.